Commander Jake Morrison felt his hands shake as he looked at the main screen of the UES Horizon. The ship was humanity's first real attempt at deep space travel, and they were about to meet aliens for the first time in human history. The mission had taken 3 years to plan and another 2 years to reach this point in space. Far from Earth's solar system, the bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Jake could hear his own heartbeat as he waited for something to happen. His crew of 25 people had trained for this moment their entire adult lives. They all knew this meeting would change everything for humanity. Captain Lisa Harper stood next to him, her eyes fixed on the alien ships that had appeared on their sensors an hour ago. She was the ship's expert on alien life, though she had never actually seen any aliens before today. Nobody had. The ships on the screen were massive, much larger than anything humans had ever built. They looked like they were made of some kind of dark metal that seemed to bend light around it. "Are they responding to our signals?" Jake asked Kelly. Brooks, the communications officer, shook her head. "Nothing, sir. I've tried every frequency we know. I've sent the universal peace messages in mathematics, music, and pictures. They're not answering." Jake frowned. The alien ships, which belonged to a species called the Valdari, had been expected to meet them here. Earth scientists had been sending radio signals to the Valdari for over a decade, and the aliens had finally responded with coordinates for this meeting. The Valdari were supposed to be the oldest space-traveling species in the galaxy, with technology that was thousands of years ahead of human science. "Maybe they're just being careful," Dr. Ryan Parker suggested. The ship's historian and archaeologist was a thin man with gray hair who had spent his life studying ancient civilizations. "If they're as old as we think they are, they've probably learned to be cautious with new species. Or maybe they don't like what they see," muttered Ben Turner, the ship's engineer. He was a practical man who always expected the worst possible outcome. Jake was about to respond when the alien ships began to move, but instead of coming closer, they were backing away. The massive vessels slowly turned and started to retreat. To a safe distance, Jake felt his stomach drop. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. "Sir, I'm getting something," Kelly said suddenly. Her voice was tight with excitement and fear. "It's a transmission, audio and visual." "Put it on the main screen," Jake ordered. The screen flickered and changed. Instead of showing the alien ships, it now showed the inside of what looked like a control room. The walls were made of the same dark metal as the ships, and strange symbols glowed softly along the surfaces. In the center of the room stood a figure that was clearly not human. The alien was tall, at least 8 feet, with long arms and legs. Its skin was pale blue and seemed to shine with its own light. Its head was larger than a human's, with big dark eyes that looked almost black. When it spoke, its voice was deep and seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Greetings, young species of Earth," the alien said. The words were in perfect English, which surprised everyone on the bridge. "I am Elder Thane Vextar, commander of this Valdari fleet. We have traveled far to meet you, but now we must speak of things that will disturb you." Jake stepped forward, even though he knew the alien couldn't see him. "This is Commander Jake Morrison of the United Earthship Horizon. We're honored to meet you, Elder Vextar. We've come in peace, hoping to establish friendship between our species." The alien's large eyes seemed to focus directly on Jake, as if it could see through the screen. "Commander Morrison, your intentions are good, but you do not understand the situation. We cannot approach your world. No wise species in the galaxy approaches Earth." "I don't understand," Jake said. "We've been sending signals for years. You responded and asked us to meet you here. Why won't you come closer?" Elder Vextar was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was sad and worried. "Because we know what lives on your world, young human. We know of Earth. We know of the others who share your planet." Dr. Parker moved closer to the screen. "Others? What others?" "There are no other intelligent species on Earth besides humans." The alien's expression changed. If Jake had to guess, he would say it looked surprised. "You truly do not know? Your species has lived on Earth for thousands of years, and you do not know about the others?" What others? Jake demanded. There are no others. Humans are the only intelligent life on Earth. Elder Vextar made a sound that might have been a sigh. Commander Morrison, your world is not what you think it is. Earth is home to beings far older and more dangerous than your species. They have been there longer than humans have existed. They are the reason why the galaxy's oldest civilizations avoid your world. The bridge fell silent. Jake felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. That's impossible. We've explored our entire planet. We've mapped every continent, every ocean. We've been to the deepest parts of the sea and the highest mountains. There are no other intelligent species on Earth. You see only what they allow you to see, the alien replied. These beings have technologies that make them invisible to your primitive sensors. They can hide entire cities from your eyes. They can make you forget things you have seen. They have been watching your species grow and develop, but they have never revealed themselves to you. Lisa Harper spoke up, her voice shaking. Who are they? What do they want? We do not know their true names, Elder Vextar said. We have only heard rumors and ancient stories. Some call them the Watchers. Others know them as the Deep Ones. They are older than our civilization, older than any species currently alive in the galaxy. They came to Earth long before humans existed, and they have claimed it as their territory. But why haven't they contacted? U.S.? Jake asked. If they're so advanced, why do they hide? Perhaps because they are waiting for something, the alien replied. Perhaps because they are protecting something. Or perhaps because they are preparing for something. We do not know their purposes, but we know their power. 3 times in the past 1,000 years, Valdari ships have tried to approach Earth. Each time they were turned away by forces we could not understand or fight against. Kelly Brooks looked at her instruments with confusion. Sir, I'm reading some kind of interference. The signal is getting weaker. Elder Vextar-S image flickered on the screen. Our time grows short. Commander Morrison, I will give you one warning, and then we must leave this place. Return to your world. Tell your leaders what you have learned here. But do not venture this far into space again until you know the truth about who shares your planet. Earth is not safe for other species to visit, and it may not be safe for humans to leave. Wait, Jake called out. Don't go. We need to know more. How do we find these others? How do we contact them? But the alien's image was already fading. Seek the deep places, young human. Seek the places where your kind fears to go. But be warned, some knowledge comes with a price that may be too high to pay. The screen went dark. On the tactical display, Jake could see the Valdari ships accelerating away from them at incredible speed. Within minutes, they had vanished completely, leaving the human ship alone in the vast emptiness of space. Jake stood in the silence, his mind racing. Everything he thought he knew about Earth and humanity's place in the universe had just been turned upside down. If the Valdari were telling the truth, then humans were not alone on their own planet. There were others, ancient and powerful, who had been hiding in plain sight for thousands of years. The question now was what to do with this information, and whether humanity was ready to learn the truth about who they really shared their world with. 3 weeks after the Hughes Horizon returned to Earth, Jake Morrison found himself sitting in a windowless room deep underground. The Global Defense Initiative headquarters was built like a fortress, with thick concrete walls and multiple security checkpoints. Jake had been to this place only twice before, and both times had been for the most serious threats to Earth security. Director Steve Collins sat across from him at a long metal table. Steve was a man in his 50s with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too many classified reports. Around the table sat 6 other people, all experts in different fields. Jake recognized some of them from news reports and scientific journals, but he had never met any of them in person. Commander Morrison, Steve began, his voice serious and quiet. What you've told us about the Valdari encounter is troubling. We've spent the last 3 weeks trying to verify their claims, and I'm afraid we found some disturbing evidence. Jake felt his stomach tighten. Part of him had hoped that the aliens' warnings were just lies or misunderstandings. But the look on Steve's face told him that wasn't the case. Dr. Amy Watson, our marine biologist, will brief you first, Steve said. Nodding to a woman with short brown hair sitting to his left, Dr. Watson opened a folder and spread several photographs. Across the table, Commander, these are sonar readings from the deepest parts of our oceans. We've been taking these measurements for over 20 years, but we never really paid attention to some of the stranger readings until now. Jake looked at the images. They showed what looked like underwater mountains, but the shapes were too regular and organized to be natural. What am I looking at? These are structures on the ocean floor, Dr. Watson explained. They're massive, some of them larger than cities. The sonar shows buildings, roads, and what might be transportation systems. But here's the strange part. We've sent underwater vehicles to these locations dozens of times over the years, and they never found anything. What do you mean, nothing? Jake asked. I mean the cameras show empty ocean floor. The sonar says there are huge structures there, but when we look with our eyes or cameras, we see nothing but sand and rocks. It's like something is hiding these structures from our sight. Dr. Nick Rodriguez, a geologist with a thick beard, spoke up next. It's not just the oceans, Commander. We found similar problems on land. He pulled out a tablet and showed Jake a series of charts and graphs. These are seismic readings from major mountain ranges around the world. The data shows massive hollow spaces underground, connected by tunnels that stretch for thousands of miles. Jake studied the charts. The tunnel systems looked like underground highways connecting different parts of the world. Have you explored any of these tunnels? We've tried, Nick said. Every time we send equipment down to investigate, it stops working. Cameras go dark, sensors malfunction, and drill bits break on materials that shouldn't be that hard. It's like something doesn't want us to see what's down there. The next person to speak was Dr. Claire Martinez, a specialist in ancient civilizations. She was a small woman with dark hair and intelligent eyes. Commander, I've been researching historical records and ancient texts from around the world. What I've found is disturbing. She opened an old book and showed Jake several pages with strange drawings. These are cave paintings from different continents, created by people who lived thousands of years apart and never had contact with each other. But look at what they drew. Jake examined the paintings. They showed tall figures that looked almost human, but not quite right. The figures had elongated limbs and large heads, and they seemed to be watching over smaller human figures. These could be anything. Ancient art is often symbolic. That's what I thought too, Dr. Martinez said. But then I found written records. She pulled out copies of ancient texts in different languages. These are from Egyptian tombs, Mayan, temples, Chinese dynasties, and Norse sagas. They all describe the same thing, beings that live beneath the earth and under the water, watching over humanity, but never revealing themselves. The texts call them different names, she continued. The Egyptians called them the Neteru of the deep. The Mayans knew them as the Watchers. Below, the Chinese wrote about the guardians of the hidden realm, but they all describe the same basic characteristics, tall beings with great knowledge who have been on Earth longer than human civilization. Ben Turner, the engineer who had been on the Horizon mission, cleared his throat. There's something else, Commander. Something we discovered when we analyzed the ship's sensor data more carefully. He activated a wall screen that showed a detailed scan of the solar system. While we were talking to the Valdari, our sensors were running continuous scans of the area. We found something that wasn't supposed to be there. The screen zoomed in on Earth's moon. Jake could see several bright spots on the dark side of the moon, the side that always faces away from Earth. What are those? Structures? Ben said simply. Artificial structures that our lunar satellites somehow missed for decades. They're not large, but they're definitely not natural rock formations. The energy signatures suggest they're active, possibly inhabited. Jake stared at the screen. How is that possible? We've mapped every inch of the moon's surface. Not every inch, Ben replied. We've mapped the side we can see from Earth very well, but the dark side has always been harder to study. And these structures are designed to be hidden. They only show up on very specific sensor frequencies. Dr. Tony Garcia, a linguistics expert, was the last to speak. Commander, we've been monitoring radio signals from around the world since you returned. Most of it is normal human communication, but we've detected some signals that don't match any known human language or technology. He played an audio recording that sounded like a series of musical tones and rhythms. This signal originates from somewhere in the Pacific Ocean at a depth of over 30,000 feet. It repeats every 6 hours and it's clearly artificial. We've tried to decode it, but it's unlike anything in our databases. Jake listened to the strange music-like sounds. There was something about them that made him feel uneasy, as if they were trying to communicate something important. Have you responded to the signal? We've tried, Tony said. But every time we send a response, the signal stops for exactly 24 hours, then resumes. It's like whatever is sending it knows we're listening and doesn't want to talk to. U.S. yet. Director Collins leaned forward. Commander, based on all this evidence, we believe the Valdari were telling the truth. There are other intelligent beings on Earth, and they've been here much longer than humans. The question is, what do we do about it? Jake looked around the table at the faces of the experts. Each of them had spent their careers studying different aspects of Earth and human civilization, and now they were all telling him the same thing. Humanity was not alone on their own planet. Have you tried to make contact directly? Jake asked. We've considered it, Steve said. But we're not sure how to approach beings that have been hiding from us for thousands of years. If they wanted to contact us, they probably would have done it by now, Dr. Watson spoke up. There's something else to consider, the Valdari said. These beings are dangerous. Maybe they're hiding from us for our own protection, or maybe they're hiding from us because they're planning something. Ben added grimly. Jake stood up and walked to the wall screen, looking at the mysterious structures. On the moon. What if we're thinking about this all wrong? What if they're not hiding from us, but protecting us? What do you mean? Steve asked. Think about it, Jake said. The Valdari are an ancient, advanced species, but they're afraid to come near Earth. They said these beings are older and more powerful than any species currently alive in the galaxy. What if they've been protecting Earth from other alien species all this time? The room fell silent as everyone considered this possibility. Finally, Dr. Martinez spoke. If that's true, then we owe them a debt of gratitude. But it also means we need to know who they are and what they want from us. How do we find them? Jake asked. Tony played the underwater signal again. Maybe we already have. This signal has been getting stronger over the past week. And according to our analysis, it's not random, it's an invitation. An invitation to what? Steve asked. To meet them? Tony replied. The signal includes coordinates. Deep underwater coordinates in the Pacific Ocean at a depth that only our most advanced submersibles can reach. Jake felt his heart racing. After weeks of mystery and unanswered questions, they finally had a chance to learn the truth. How soon can we get there? The deep-sea vessel Neptune's Eye is ready for deployment, Dr. Watson said. But Commander, if we're right about these beings, this will be even more dangerous than your encounter with the Valdari. Jake nodded. Maybe. But we need to know the truth about who we're sharing our planet with. And if they're sending us an invitation, maybe they're finally ready to talk. The Neptune's Eye looked like a small metal whale as it cut through the dark waters of the Pacific Ocean. Jake Morrison sat in the pilot's seat, his hands steady on the controls despite the nervousness he felt inside. The submersible was humanity's most advanced deep-sea vehicle, built to withstand the crushing pressure of the deepest ocean trenches. Dr. Amy Watson sat beside him, watching the depth gauge as they descended. They had already passed 20,000 feet, and the water outside was completely black. The only light came from the submersible's powerful headlights, which created a small bubble of visibility in the endless darkness. Carl Davis, the marine engineer, checked his instruments from the back seat. All systems are working perfectly, he reported. Hull pressure is holding steady, and we have enough air for 12 hours. Jake nodded, keeping his eyes on the sonar display. The signal that had brought them here was getting stronger as they descended. It was no longer just the musical tones they had heard before. Now it included what sounded like words, though in no language any of them recognized. 30,000 feet, Amy announced. We're approaching the coordinates. Jake looked at the sonar screen and felt his breath catch in his throat. The display showed massive structures rising from the ocean floor, but when he looked out the window, he saw nothing but empty water. The sonar is showing something huge down there, but I can't see anything with my eyes. Same thing we found at all the other locations, Carl said. Something is hiding these structures from visual detection. The submersible's communication system crackled to life. A voice spoke in clear English, though it sounded different from any human voice Jake had ever heard. It was deep and musical, with strange echoes that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Welcome, surface dwellers. You have answered our call. Please do not be afraid. We have been waiting for this moment for a very long time. Jake grabbed the communication device. This is Commander Jake Morrison of the United Earth Forces. Who are you? Where are you? We are the Nethes guardians of this world. We have watched your species grow and develop for many thousands of years. You are now ready to learn the truth about your planet and your place in the greater galaxy. Amy leaned forward. Why have you hidden from us? Why reveal yourselves now? Because the time of hiding is ending, the voice replied. New threats approach your world, threats that require all of Earth's children to work together. But first you must see what we have built beneath your oceans. The water around the submersible began to glow with a soft blue light. Suddenly, the structures that had been invisible became visible. Jake stared in amazement at what surrounded them. They were in the middle of an underwater city that stretched as far as they could see. Buildings made of some kind of crystal-like material rose from the ocean floor like underwater mountains. Lights moved between the structures, and Jake realized they were vehicles of some kind, carrying passengers through the water-filled streets. Gardens of strange plants grew along the sides of the buildings, creating patches of green and red in the blue-lit city. My God, Amy whispered. It's beautiful. This is only one of 17 cities we have built beneath your oceans, the voice explained. We have lived here peacefully for over 200,000 years, long before your species learned to make fire. The submersible was gently guided toward what looked like a docking bay. As they approached, Jake could see figures moving inside the transparent walls. They were tall and graceful, with long limbs and large heads. Their skin seemed to glow with the same soft light as the city around them. Are you the ones the Valdari warned us about? Jake asked. The Valdari are wise to fear this world, the voice replied. But not because of us. We have protected Earth from many threats over the millennia. The Valdari themselves have been turned away from your world 3 times, not because we wish to harm them, but because we wish to protect both them and you. The submersible docked with a soft bump. Through the transparent walls, Jake could see a chamber filling with water, then draining as air replaced it. A door opened, and a figure approached their vessel. The being that greeted them was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. It stood nearly 8 feet tall, with pale skin that seemed to shimmer like water. Its eyes were large and dark, filled with an intelligence that seemed ancient and kind. It wore no clothing, but its body was covered in intricate patterns that glowed softly in the dim light. I am Keeper Zethkara, the being said, its voice now coming from its own throat rather than through the communication system. I have been chosen to be your guide and teacher. Please, come with me. There is much you need to understand. Jake, Amy, and Carl followed Zethkara through corridors filled with breathable air. The walls were covered in symbols that seemed to move and change as they watched. Other Nethes moved through the halls, all tall and graceful, all glowing with that soft internal light. How many of you are there? Amy asked. On Earth, we number approximately 7 million, Zethkara replied. We have cities beneath every major ocean and smaller outposts in underground caverns and deep lakes. We are not originally from this world, but we have made it our home for many thousands of your generations. They entered a large chamber with a dome ceiling that showed a view of the galaxy. Stars moved slowly overhead, and Jake could see planets and ships traveling between them. This is our center of knowledge, Zethkara explained. From here, we monitor all activity in this sector of the galaxy. Carl pointed at the display. You can see other worlds from here? We can see many things, Zethkara said. We watch the movements of hostile species, track the paths of dangerous asteroids, and monitor the development of young civilizations like your own. We have been protecting Earth from threats you never knew existed. The display changed to show a series of images. Jake saw alien ships approaching Earth only to be turned away by invisible forces. He saw asteroids that should have hit the planet being deflected by energy beams. He saw what looked like battles in space, with Nethi's vessels fighting against strange alien craft. 17 different species have attempted to invade or colonize Earth over the past 50,000 years, Zethkara explained. Each time we have prevented them from reaching your world, sometimes through force, sometimes through deception, sometimes by making Earth appear too dangerous to approach. Like you did with the Valdari, Jake said. The Valdari are not enemies, Zethkara replied, but they are cautious. We have encouraged their caution by letting them believe that Earth is home to unpredictable and dangerous forces. In a way, this is true. Humans are unpredictable, and you have great potential for both creation and destruction. Amy was studying the alien technology around them. Why didn't you contact us sooner? Why hide from us for so long? Because you were not ready, Zethkara said simply. Young species often react poorly to the knowledge that they are not alone. Some become hostile. Others become dependent, and still others lose their will to develop their own capabilities. We have watched many civilizations destroy themselves after learning too much too soon. But we're ready now? Jake asked. Zethkara's expression became serious. You are ready because you have no choice. A new threat approaches, one that we cannot face alone. The Craxi Empire has been expanding across the galaxy, enslaving or destroying young civilizations. They have learned of Earth's existence, and they are coming. The star display changed to show a fleet of dark ships moving toward their section of the galaxy. The ships were huge, much larger than anything Jake had seen before, and there were hundreds of them. When will they arrive? Jake asked. Based on their current speed, they will reach Earth in approximately 18 of your months, Zethkara replied. This is why we have revealed ourselves to you now. We need your help to defend this world. Our help? Carl laughed bitterly. What can humans do against something like that? We can barely reach our own moon. You underestimate your species, Zethkara said. Humans have qualities that make you valuable allies. You adapt quickly to new situations. You are creative in ways that older species are not, and you have a fierce determination to protect what you love. These qualities will be essential in the coming conflict. The keeper led them to another chamber where other Nethis were working with strange equipment. We have been preparing for this war for many years. We have weapons and defenses that can damage the Craxi ships, but we do not have enough warriors to crew all of our vessels. We need humans to help us fight. Amy looked around at the advanced technology. You want us to learn to use your weapons? We want to combine our knowledge with your ingenuity, Zethkara replied. Together we can create defenses that neither of our species could build alone. But this will require complete cooperation and trust between our peoples. Jake thought about everything he had learned. Humanity was not alone on Earth, and they never had been. The Nethis had been silently protecting them for thousands of years, keeping Earth safe from alien threats. Now, for the first time, Earth faced a threat that its hidden guardians could not handle alone. What do you need from us? Jake asked. First, you must return to your leaders and tell them what you have learned, Zethkara said. They will need to make a choice. They can continue to pretend that humans are alone on Earth. Jake Morrison stood in the largest room he had ever seen, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. The chamber was as big as a football stadium, with walls that curved up to form a dome overhead. The ceiling showed a perfect view of space, with stars and planets moving slowly across the dark sky. It looked so real that Jake felt like he could reach up and touch the stars. Keeper Zethkara moved gracefully beside him, pointing to different parts of the display. "This is our main observation center," the Nethys explained. "From here, we monitor all activity within 50 light-years of Earth. We have been watching the galaxy for threats to this world for 200,000 years. Amy Watson and Carl Davis followed behind them, both staring in wonder at the advanced technology surrounding them. The room was filled with Nethys workers, all tall and glowing, operating equipment that looked like nothing humans had ever built. Streams of light moved between different devices, carrying information at speeds that human computers could never match. "Show them the records," Zethkara said to one of the workers. The ceiling display changed, showing what looked like a historical timeline. Jake could see Earth as it was thousands of years ago, with different continents and climates. As time moved forward, he saw alien ships approaching the planet, only to be turned away by Nethys vessels that appeared from nowhere. "The first invasion attempt was 57,000 years ago," Zethkara explained. "The Zorathi Empire wanted to strip mine Earth for its metals. We convinced them that the planet was protected by an ancient curse that destroyed any ship that came too close." The display showed Nethys ships using some kind of energy weapon to destroy a single Zorathi vessel, then broadcasting the destruction to the rest of the alien fleet. The remaining ships quickly retreated. "The second attempt came from the Helixian collective 31,000 years ago," Zethkara continued. "They wanted to use Earth as a breeding ground for their livestock. We created false energy readings that made the planet appear to be unstable and dangerous." Jake watched as the display showed the Nethys manipulating Earth's electromagnetic field to create terrifying storms and lightning displays whenever the alien ships approached. The Helixians also retreated, convinced that Earth was too dangerous to colonize. "The most recent attempt was only 3,000 years ago," Zethkara said. "The Vorthic Republic sent a scouting force to evaluate Earth's defenses. We allowed them to land, then showed them fabricated evidence of a massive military presence hidden beneath the planet's surface." The display showed Nethys technology creating holographic images of huge underground bases filled with weapons and soldiers. The Vorthic scouts reported back that Earth was heavily fortified by an unknown species with advanced military technology. All of these deceptions worked because most galactic species prefer to avoid conflicts they cannot win, Zethkara explained. "By making Earth appear dangerous or well-protected, we discouraged invasion attempts without revealing our true presence." Carl studied the timeline with fascination. "What about the Valdari? You said they tried to approach Earth 3 times. "The Valdari were different," Zethkara replied. "They were not invaders. They were explorers and traders who wanted to make peaceful contact with any intelligent species on Earth, but we could not allow that contact to happen." "Why not?" Amy asked. "Because humanity was not ready," Zethkara said simply. 3,000 years ago, your species was just beginning to develop agriculture and written language. Contact with an advanced galactic civilization would have changed your development in unpredictable ways. We have seen young species become completely dependent on alien technology, losing their ability to innovate and grow. The display changed to show other worlds where early contact had gone wrong. Jake saw planets where primitive civilizations had been given advanced technology too soon, leading to wars and destruction. He saw species that had stopped developing their own capabilities because they relied entirely on alien help. "The Valdari understood our concerns," Zethkara continued. "They agreed to stay away from Earth until humanity developed space travel on its own. But they were curious about why we were so protective of this world. Over time, they began to suspect that Earth held secrets that even they did not know." Jake nodded. "That's why Elder Vextar was so frightened when we met him. He thought we were just humans, but he knew something else lived on Earth." "Exactly," Zethkara said. "The Valdari have heard stories about our people, but they have never seen us directly. To them, we are mysterious guardians with unknown powers and motivations. They respect our claim to this world, but they do not understand us. The keeper led them to another section of the chamber, where a group of Nethies were working on what looked like a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. The map showed thousands of star systems, with different colors indicating different types of civilizations. "This is our current intelligence on galactic politics," Zethkara explained. "The red systems are controlled by the Craxi Empire. The blue systems are independent worlds. The green systems are members of the Galactic Federation." Jake studied the map. The red areas were spreading across one side of the galaxy like a disease, consuming independent worlds and even some Federation territories. The Craxi Empire is huge. How can Earth possibly stand against something like that? The Craxi have many ships and soldiers, Zethkara agreed, but they have weaknesses. They rely on overwhelming force rather than strategy. They expect their enemies to surrender quickly when faced with superior numbers. They do not adapt well to unexpected tactics. Amy pointed to the map. "What about the Galactic Federation? Won't they help defend Earth?" "The Federation is reluctant to fight the Craxi directly," Zethkara replied. "They prefer to negotiate and compromise. They have already allowed the Craxi to take dozens of worlds in exchange for promises of peace. But the Craxi do not keep their promises." The display zoomed in on Earth's section of the galaxy. Jake could see the Craxi fleet moving steadily toward them like a dark cloud approaching a peaceful city. "How many ships are coming?" "Our long-range sensors detect over 800 vessels," Zethkara said. "That includes battle cruisers, troop transports, and support ships. They're bringing enough force to conquer and occupy Earth for decades." Carl whistled softly. 800 ships. "How many do we have?" "The Nethi's fleet consists of 147 ships," Zethkara replied. "They are more advanced than Craxi vessels, but we are greatly outnumbered. In a direct battle, we would be defeated." "Then how do we win?" Jake asked. Itiakara's eyes seemed to glow brighter. "By combining Nethi's technology with human creativity. Your species thinks differently than we do. You find solutions that we would never consider. Together we can create strategies and weapons that the Craxi cannot predict or counter." The keeper led them to a smaller chamber where several Nethies were working alongside human scientists. Jake was surprised to see people he recognized from Earth's top research facilities. They were studying alien technology and taking notes on devices that looked like nothing from Earth's laboratories. "How long have you been working with humans?" Jake asked. "For the past 6 months?" Zethkara replied. "We have been carefully selecting scientists and engineers who could handle the knowledge of our existence. They have been working to understand our technology and adapt it for human use." Dr. Patricia Lee, a physicist Jake knew from the space program, looked up from her work. "Commander Morrison, you need to see this. The Nethies have energy weapons that can cut through any known material. But when we studied how they work, we realized we could make them even more effective by combining them with human engineering principles." She showed him a device that looked like a hybrid between human and alien technology. "This is a prototype weapon that uses Nethi's energy systems with human targeting computers. It's more accurate and efficient than either technology alone." Another scientist, Dr. Robert Chun, was working on what looked like a spaceship engine. "The Nethies have faster-than-light travel," he explained. "But their ships are designed for long-range exploration, not combat. We're adapting their drive systems for smaller, more maneuverable fighters that can outrun and outfight Craxi vessels." Jake felt a surge of hope. "How many of these new ships can we build?" "With our combined resources, we can produce approximately 300 vessels in the next 15 months, Zethkara replied. "That will give us roughly 450 ships total to face the Craxi fleet." "Still outnumbered," Carl observed. "But not outmatched," Zethkara said. "The Craxi expect to face primitive human technology or standard Nethi's defenses. They will not be prepared for hybrid weapons and tactics that combine the best of both species," Amy looked around at the bustling activity. What about the rest of humanity? Are you planning to tell the world about your existence? That decision has already been made, Zethkara replied. Tomorrow, representatives of our people will reveal themselves to Earth's major governments. The time for hiding is over. Humanity must know the truth about their guardians and their coming role in galactic affairs. Jake thought about how the world would react to learning that they had never been alone on Earth. There will be panic. Fear. Some people will think you're invaders. We know, Zethkara said sadly. But the alternative is worse. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Unity, watching the stars through the main viewing screen. The ship was unlike anything humanity had ever built before. It combined the best of human engineering with Nethys technology, creating a vessel that was both powerful and graceful. The hull was made of a material that could repair itself when damaged, and the engines could push the ship faster than light itself. 15 months had passed since the Nethys had revealed themselves to humanity. The announcement had shaken the world, just as Jake had predicted. There had been panic, protests, and political chaos. Some people had welcomed their ancient guardians, while others had called them invaders and demanded they leave Earth. But the approach of the Craxi fleet had united most of humanity behind the alliance. When faced with the choice between working with the Nethys or facing alien conquest alone, even the most stubborn world leaders had agreed to cooperate. Admiral, we're receiving signals from the Outer Sensor Network, reported Captain Lisa Harper, who now served as Jake's second-in-command. The Craxi fleet has entered our solar system, Jake nodded grimly. This was the moment they had all been preparing for. How many ships? 837 vessels, Lisa replied. They're larger than our intelligence reports indicated. On the screen, Jake could see the enemy fleet approaching like a cloud of metal locusts. The Craxi ships were dark and angular, designed to look intimidating rather than efficient. Each vessel was easily 3 times the size of the largest human Nethys hybrid ships. Signal the fleet, Jake ordered. All ships to battle positions. Around the Unity, over 400 ships moved into formation. The fleet was a mixture of human designs upgraded with Nethys technology, pure Nethys vessels, and the new hybrid ships that neither species could have built alone. It was the largest space fleet Earth had ever assembled, but it was still outnumbered 2-1. Keeper Zethkara appeared on the bridge, materializing through a teleportation device that still amazed Jake even after months of working with Nethys. Technology. Admiral Morrison, our deep space sensors show that the Craxi are preparing to attack immediately. They do not plan to offer terms or negotiate. That's what we expected, Jake replied. Are our special preparations ready? Yes, Zethkara said, a hint of what might have been a smile crossing his alien features. The Craxi are in for several surprises. The enemy fleet began to spread out, preparing to surround Earth and overwhelm its defenders. Jake watched their movements on the tactical display, noting how predictable their strategy was. The Craxi relied on superior numbers and firepower, just as Zethkara had said. They expected their enemies to panic and scatter when faced with such overwhelming force. They're moving exactly as we predicted, Jake said. Begin Phase 1. Across the solar system, hidden weapons platforms that had been secretly placed over the past year began to activate. The Craxi had scanned the area and detected the human Nethys fleet, but they had not noticed the dozens of automated defense stations disguised as asteroids and space debris. The first wave of attacks came from these hidden platforms. Beams of energy that could slice through the strongest metals struck the Craxi fleet from unexpected angles. Several enemy ships exploded immediately, while others suffered serious damage to their engines and weapons. Direct hits on 47 enemy vessels, reported Ben Turner, who now served as the fleet's chief engineer. 12 destroyed, 35 damaged. The Craxi fleet responded by firing at the hidden platforms, but many of the weapons were already moving to new positions. The platforms had been designed to be mobile, using Nethys technology to teleport from one location to another after each attack. Phase 2, Jake ordered. The human Nethys fleet split into smaller groups, each moving at high speed toward different sections of the enemy formation. This was a tactic that neither species would have used alone. The Nethys preferred large, coordinated attacks, while humans favored small, fast strikes. The combination confused the Craxi, who couldn't decide which groups to target first. Jake watched as his pilots, trained in both human and Nethys tactics, began their attacks. The smaller ships moved like dancers, weaving between the larger Craxi vessels and striking at their weakest points. The hybrid weapons were proving devastatingly effective, cutting through enemy armor that should have been impenetrable. The Craxi are trying to regroup, Lisa reported. They're pulling their damaged ships back and forming a defensive circle. They're learning, Zethkara observed, but not quickly enough. Phase 3, Jake announced. This was the most dangerous part of the plan. The Unity and the other large ships in the fleet moved directly toward the center of the Craxi formation, appearing to make a desperate frontal assault. The enemy concentrated their fire on these obvious targets, just as Jake had hoped they would, but the assault was a deception. As the Craxi focused on the large ships, hundreds of smaller vessels emerged from hiding places throughout the solar system. They had been concealed behind moons, inside asteroid fields, and even within the upper atmosphere of Earth itself, the small ships struck the Craxi fleet from all sides at once. The enemy found themselves surrounded by attackers they hadn't known existed. Their carefully planned formation collapsed as ships tried to turn to face threats coming from every direction. Enemy casualties are mounting, Ben reported. We've destroyed over 200 ships and damaged at least 100 more, but the Craxi were far from defeated. Their remaining ships began to adapt to the human Nethys tactics, using their superior firepower to create zones of destruction that the smaller ships couldn't penetrate. The battle was turning into a brutal contest of endurance. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Craxi flagship, Lisa announced. Put it on screen, Jake ordered. The image that appeared showed a creature that looked like a cross between a lizard and an insect. Its skin was covered in scales that reflected the light like metal, and its eyes were large and red. When it spoke, its voice was harsh and filled with anger. I am War Commander Thexgor of the Craxi Empire, the alien said. You have fought better than expected, but you cannot win. Surrender now, and we will allow your species to serve the Empire as slaves. Continue to resist, and we will exterminate every living thing on your world. Jake stepped forward. This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the United Earth Forces. We reject your terms. Earth is not yours to take. Foolish primitive. Thexgor snarled. You think you can defeat the might of the Craxi Empire? We have conquered 100 worlds. Your pathetic alliance with the water dwellers will not save you. Maybe not, Jake said calmly, but we're not fighting alone. As if on cue, new ships began to appear throughout the solar system. These were not human or Nethys vessels, but sleek, silver ships that Jake recognized from the historical records. The Valdari had arrived. Elder Vexstar's voice came through the communication system. War Commander Thexgor, you are violating the territorial sovereignty of a protected world. By ancient galactic law, the Craxi Empire has no claim to this system. The Valdari? Thexgor said, his voice filled with surprise and anger. You have no business here, old ones. This world is unprotected. We detected no defensive treaties or formal alliances. You detected what you expected to detect, Vexstar replied. Earth has been under Valdari protection for 3,000 years. We have simply chosen to exercise that protection through local guardians rather than direct intervention. Jake felt a surge of hope. The Valdari fleet was smaller than the Craxi force, but their ships were far more advanced. More importantly, their arrival meant that Earth's defenders were no longer alone against the Empire. This is impossible, Thexgor said. The Valdari never interfere in galactic conflicts. We interfere when young species show the wisdom to work with their guardians rather than against them, Vexstar replied. The humans and Nethys have proven that they can cooperate for the greater good. That makes them valuable allies and worthy. of our protection. The battle resumed, but now the odds were different. The Valdari ships moved with impossible grace, their weapons striking with precision that the Craxi couldn't match. Working together, the three species created a coordinated defense that the Empire's forces couldn't break. Within hours, the Craxi fleet was in full retreat. War Commander Thexcor's flagship was among the first to flee, its hull scarred by weapons fire and its engines smoking. The few remaining enemy ships followed, jumping to faster-than-light speed as soon as they were clear of the solar system. "The Craxi are withdrawing," Lisa reported. "They're leaving the system." Jake allowed himself to smile for the first time in months. "Signal all ships, stand down from battle alert." Zethkara approached him, his alien features showing what Jake had learned to recognize as satisfaction. "It is done, Admiral. Earth is safe. For now," Jake replied. "But this won't be the last threat we face." "No," Zethkara agreed. "But now the galaxy knows that Earth is not a weak, isolated world. They know that we have allies and that we can defend ourselves. That knowledge will protect us from future threats." Elder Vextar's image appeared on the screen. "Admiral Morrison, the Valdari Council has voted to formally invite Earth to join the Galactic Federation. Your species and your guardians have proven that you can work together for the common good.